And I just remember several times going into this church trying to find a way and feeling like an absolute outsider. And you know what? That really confused me.
It was obviously a church where people had had long roots there, and so they were related in some ways to one another, but they never talked to me. And I walked out of that church and said, I will never come back to this church again.
Well, we've all had moments in life when we felt that we just were totally not welcome or we didn't fit. I remember a speech teacher who, after class, after I did my very best to give a speech, she looked at me and she said, I just really don't like you. And I never told anybody, but I decided when I walked out of that class I would never speak again in school. And for years I didn't.
That was a crushing blow because I respected my English teacher. And for him to see something that I had created as pretty much nothing was devastating.
I think that our responsibility for people who don't feel like they fit, or let's say young people who don't feel they fit, it's hard to generalize. Young people may be there because they're searching, but we often don't make room for searching faith. And if we don't do that, there's no place for many of the young adults who will, in fact, have the potential to be leaders because they searched. We won't find the future leadership class out of people who never did any searching.
I think there are many church leaders who want young people to save the church. And so they want young people to be a part of the church because they see it as a way of sustaining the church. On the other hand, I believe that the responsibility of the church is to help young people experience the saving grace of Jesus Christ.
I also think one of our major issues as a church is that even when young people show up and we say there's a place for them, we don't necessarily have a space for them. We don't really even need them to be there. The church is working fine without them.
We think the children, the youth, even the young adult, we consider them as objectives.
I think the days of just patting youth on the head and saying, it's nice to have you here, we'll give you one youth Sunday a year, and everything will be fine. I think those days are gone.
In a sense, we expect young people to step into a time machine and be whisked back to the 1950s and somehow be okay with that.
Basically, Young People's Ministries is trying to accomplish two things. One is to resource and support youth, young adults, and adult leaders in youth and young adult ministry in the church. The second is that we're striving to help young people find their voice in the church.
Some of the ways that we're looking at developing new leaders for the church at GBOD, one is simply to begin to try to identify those people who are expressing an interest, who are showing up on the edges, maybe in our events, maybe through a chat on Facebook, and we're trying to look at how do we walk alongside them.
The task and the goal of Young People's Ministries is to identify potential leaders, train and equip leaders that are already existing, the ways God is already working in youth and young people.
Just learning to listen, talking a lot less to young people about what church is and what it ought to be for them and what they ought to be doing. Just listening.
Having trained young leaders is very important for the future of the church. I think we sometimes forget that that builds slowly.
I do a ton of networking, and so it takes a while to even see what I'm doing. It's about a year out, and then I go, oh, I was here, and I got this person together with this person, and now this has happened.
Our Global Young People's Convocation, which happens every 4 years, brings together young people and their leaders from every jurisdiction and every central conference to celebrate what it means to be United Methodist, the youth event, which happens every 4 years, gives young people an opportunity to, again, celebrate, to grow in their faith, to make a commitment to Jesus Christ. We have staff people who are in every region of the church, and those staff people work with networks of leaders in their jurisdiction and central conference areas.
I love every 2 or 4 weeks being on a Skype call with Armando in Africa and Mighty in the Philippines.
So we're always talking about new ways of presenting information.
Young people want to go out, they want to fix things, they even have the hope that there's this possibility that the world can be a better place. Our hope really is in coming together, seeing what gifts are there, and then doing something with those gifts.
I think we're doing exciting things. I mean, we are a resource generating machine. I'm just impressed with these young folks who are not just the future leaders of this church, but right now are the present leaders of this church.